Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. So today we are going to demonstrate how to deploy a Tomcat and Springboot application on Kubernetes running on AWS Cloud. So I'm Rajat Krishnan. I'm the co-founder of Cloud Control. We have a platform called Absi. We're going to talk about that a little bit and then get into the demo and give you some more ideas on how the platform works, how we leverage gitops to deliver software into multiple cloud. And I'm here with Sanjeev. So Sanjeev, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thanks, Rajat. I'm Sanjeev Kumar, heading the product development and engineering at Cloud Control. And today it's a continuation of our the series of webinar. If you look up on the YouTube, we had the last week on how to build a cluster and do a sample applications. And in today's webinar, we will be focusing on the cluster is up and ready. And as a Java developer, I am using Tomcat and the Springboot framework. How can I take my applications live with minimal knowledge of the Docker, Kubernetes, or even the cloud?
All right, thanks, Sanjeev. And we have Anusha on the line also. I'll be sharing her screen as we are walking through this, the different steps in deploying this. We'll be sharing Anusha's screen to show you what's going on. So let's go into what we are going to cover today. So today we're going to start by giving an introduction about Absi platform and Absi stacks. And then we're going to get into the Tomcat application deployment, as well as the Springboot application deployment. So we'll take about 10 minutes to kind of go over a couple of slides. I'll start with the first slide, and then Sanjeev will go through the next few slides. So Absi is a multi-cloud software delivery platform. So we leverage gitops and dynamic pipeline to take software from or code from Git and configuration from Git and deliver to multiple cloud through our platform. So we support both legacy and native applications, cloud native applications. So Sanjeev, go ahead.
Yes. The value add from Absi is if you want to deploy the applications, and whether you are a small enterprise or even large, and if you want to have a resilient environment, resilient data center, primarily in the cloud, although we are completely cloud agnostic and we can set up the exact same resilient environment on your on-prem environment as well. And if you want to go like the faster, and technology is changing at a very rapid speed, and many times like the enterprise and the development team, like they keep on like learning and learning and how to adopt the technology. We bring a very curated environment which requires the least amount of the learning and the focus on the business outcome. You just focus on your business applications, and we take care of the infrastructure, making it indivisible, resilient, and ready to use. That adds to agility. It also adds reduce the risk in the sense that your underlying infrastructure is very secure. And our stacks also, which we'll be going over in some more details today on the Java stacks, those stacks are fully scanned and ready to integrate with our applications. And since we are a very low touch, like the deployment model, you just focus on your business application coding that you know your business more than anybody else, and we run it in a fully resilient environment, and that also reduces the cost.
And Sanjeev, we always talk about application centric versus infrastructure centric. So can you give us an idea about how we are different when it comes to other competition out there, other tools out there, right? So can you touch on that?
No, that's correct. So many times people start confusing that there are like cloud solution templates. There are Azure like resource ARM like templates are out there. So and there are like Terraform. Like how are we different from them? I would say like all these automations are great. They have done an extremely good job in automating the cloud, no doubt about it. In fact, we are leveraging them right away. But what we are adding here is that we are building a control plane using all those automations so that the cloud kind of like comes to the applications. It's kind of like and not the other way around where application is scrambling to kind of get on board the cloud. So we are more application centric, and being application centric also takes care of lots of complexity, especially running in the enterprise grade and call it like the military grade, the secure environment, because not only we take care of the applications, we also take care of the workflow that is involved, the logging and monitoring, and the day-to operations.
And can you also touch on the platform's benefits on multi-cloud? So if I'm a developer or a business trying to be on multiple cloud, how does the platform help?
That's a great question, Rajat. So the platform, Absi platform, is cloud agnostic, and we give same look and feel whatever cloud you choose, or even if you choose a multiple cloud. We have clients who are running the on-prem cloud-like environment and like selected another cloud, maybe Azure or AWS, and they have a seamless like interface, what we call is the Absi control plane, using which they are able to deploy some application on the on-prem cloud and the others on the like AWS cloud or Azure cloud, whatever cloud they have chosen.
All right. So behind the scenes, right? How does it work? So if I'm a developer and I'm familiar with my Git or GitLab, where let's say I'm talking about the Tomcat application. So what happens behind the scenes? How is the platform helping in terms of taking my code and deploying it into the cloud?
That's so. Let me just walk you through. So what and this is what we will be doing a demo of today also. So on the left hand side, we have a couple of like two swim lanes. One is the developers, and the another is like operations. And the developer, they are focused, and just to like mention, developers are the largest community in any IT of any enterprise. They constitute close to like 65%, and their prime focus should be to write the business applications because they are closer. They are day in day out talking to the business and writing the code for that. As a developer, they don't need to worry about what cloud enterprise or like they have selected. They don't need to worry about the maybe the Kubernetes implementation and the complexity of the Docker and Kubernetes. They need to focus on that. I'm a Python developer. That's what I know. That's my language. I'm a Java developer. I use Tomcat or like a Springboot framework to develop the applications, and that's all they need to know. The platform takes care of the rest of the rest of the complete deployment and the monitoring. And let me quickly like walk you through. So they simply check in the code to the Git, and if it is either through the webhooks or like what you call is the Git polling mechanism, their code gets picked up, merged with what we call is the app.js stacks, and let's call them kind of like the application's basic pod. And this app.js stack has the core components, including the operating system, including the Tomcat, including the Java, and whatever version the enterprise has selected. It has all the logging, monitoring, and the day-to capability enabled, and that stack gets merged with the developer's code and be ready to deploy on the AppG platform, which is running on the Kubernetes cluster on the right-hand side. Once the application is up and running, developers can see an end-to-end whatever happened from our AppG control plane or the dashboard, which is at the bottom.
All right. So let's look at the cluster itself, right? So can you explain the different components of where we are deploying to?
That's good. So, and we will be showing this live also. And in this case, like the cluster is ready. If you want to build a cluster, refer to our previous webinar. We have the documentation also, so that you, right now we already live in AWS Marketplace, and for beta customers, if you want to build this platform, which is shown here, contact us. We will whitelist your account, and you should be able to build the platform. So at a very high level, again, this is the simplest the version of the platform, where we are building a 3-node Kubernetes cluster. It is the micro-K8 version of the Kubernetes that we have chosen. It is simple, and it is always upstream, and one master node and 2 worker nodes. Master node also has the core Absi uh, platform running, and this enables the control plane that you will be seeing in the later part of the demo. And that's kind of like the dashboard URL. Then we have our core engine platform, which is enables the webhook, and that webhook URL goes plug directly into the user's like Git repository. We'll walk you through that process. And once the application is up and running, we have applications get deployed on the worker nodes. As you can see, the multiple applications blocks are there, and we have ingress controller which expose the URL of the application, if it is a web application, to the outside world.
Awesome. So from a developer standpoint, the cluster is already up. I just need to go to my repo, and you're going to show this now. Go to the repo, set up the webhook to point to the cluster, and then commit, and magically that gets deployed. So behind the scenes, the build, the scan, and the creation of the pods that are required to run in the cloud, all that is taken care of.
That's correct, Rajat. And I would add one more thing here, that when you say that magically gets deployed, that is really true. But what is happening behind the magic and the complete audit trail, that is visible to the developers. That is also visible to the auditors in case they want to come and see that how the application got changed, or what type of artifacts are running. So yeah, we have the full details about the magic.
Okay, sounds good. So let's go to the demo. So we are going to show 2 deployments today, a Tomcat application and a Springboot application. So I'm going to share Anusha's screen now. So let's go to the screen. So go ahead, Sanjeev.
Yes. So what Anusha is showing right now, that she has built an Absi cluster using the CloudFormation template. That template would be like visible directly from the AWS Marketplace, and the cluster has already come up. It is built, and we can see the master IP and the dashboard URL here. So, Anusha, why don't you show the cluster up and running? Yes, you can see that the cluster is up and running. This is the Absi dashboard, or call it like the control plane, where you can see some applications up and running. These applications, the 3 like log collector applications, I will go in some details, and there is another the 4th one is the HashiCorp Vault. So these are the default applications that get established on the cluster, which you are showing. You saw the diagram, and these 3 log collector applications, MongoDB, Elastic, and Graylog, enable the log collection and visibility from the dashboard. So once you deploy your application's logs will be visible from the dashboard. You don't have to log into the cluster. You don't have to log into your container to look at the logs. That's the magic, kind of like Rajit was mentioning, is that we are a low-touch operations. We do not want applications team, the developers, or even for the operations team, log into the cluster, because that kind of like goes against the privileged access control that we always teach. The last default application which is up and running is Vault. It's a HashiCorp Vault, and our platform comes with inbuilt Vault integration. So whatever secrets or certificates that you want to store, whether it is application related or even infrastructure related, you can store there, and application or the infrastructure can retrieve the secrets at runtime and do the necessary things.
So these components, right? So the cluster is up, and these are, can I call it like the shared set of
Yes,
components that
yes,
are used by multiple
yes.
applications? So the log
Yep,
collector and the HashiCorp vault,
that's
right?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So go ahead. What is the next step?
So Anusha, why don't you, so this is like the user persona who has access to these core components. So why don't you switch to another user who would own the application, and we will see that.
Yeah, sure.
So while Anusha is showing that, we have a few questions. So here is a question about, can we migrate from on-premises environment to cloud through Absi? And what is the effort?
That's in fact that's a great question, Pradeep. What I'm going to show you right now is a Tomcat application, and as you see the Git repo, you can see this applications may be running or it is running in the on-prem environment. This is, you will see the source code, and the effort would be that use the Absi stacks, what we call is the Absi deployment template, and take it live. Again, this is a demo applications and very simplistic one, but I agree that we have a fully defined process to vet the applications and take it live. The what we, based on our experience, because we migrated close to 1,400 applications in a large enterprise. So based on our experience, I would say that effort would be uh, minimum a week or maximum a month.
Awesome. Yeah, let's move on with the demo.
So as you can see, this user persona, like right now, nothing is running. And what Anusha is going to do now is take our sample application that's there in the public repository. So eCloud Control is the GitHub repository where we have tons of sample applications, and we also have the documentations to show that how you can take the sample applications and deploy on the Absi platform. So docs.ecloudcontrol.com, that's our documentation site. There we are all here we are showing that how to build a cluster on AWS Marketplace and other cloud marketplaces. The details will be coming, and we also have multiple sample applications. The documentation for multiple sample applications, that how you can take that live. So Anusha, why don't you just flash the Tomcat, the documentation, and then we will switch to the repo.
Okay.
So here are the sample documentations, and you can take a look at your own leisure. Now let's switch to the eCloud Control Tomcat repo. And what Anusha is going to do, that this is the from the developer's point of view, that they can, as an end user, they have, it's publicly readable, but they won't be able to commit here. So they can easily fork this application in their personal Git repository. So Anusha, go ahead and fork it in your personal repo. So Anusha is forking the application into her own personal Git repository, and yep, then she is going to add the webhooks against the cluster which we shared with you.
So when somebody is creating this cluster new from scratch from our marketplace, they will get this webhook URL by email, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. So we have we call it like the activation. So once the cluster comes up, then an activation mail gets sent out, and that has the details of the webhook and how to integrate with their Git repo.
All right. So it looks like we added the webhook.
So webhook is added now, and now we are going to. Now let me quickly explain this the repo first. So if you're a Java developer, the whole repository would be familiar to you. There is a pom.xml which is used to build the application. There are certain properties file, and the SRC has most of the source code here. One foreign file that you see in this repository is Absi YAML. So Absi YAML is the manifest which enables this Git repo to interact with Absi platform, and from the deployment perspective, and also define the deployment construct, that how it will get deployed, how many replicas will be there, what port it will be listening, and all the application's properties are defined here. So if you look at the top, the app is just some like the naming conventions and the U and of and the notification URLs. The build part has the details, what version we are deploying, what environment we are deploying, the image. The most critical aspect is here the image template. As you can see, the Tomcat 9. That is our secret sauce. So this is the image. Uh, we can call it like a pod on which the developers applications will get layered upon. So when I was referring to, the developer simply checks in the code, and it is the Absi stacks to which the code gets merged. So in this case, the Tomcat 9 is that Absi stack, which has the core operating system, which has Tomcat 9 and the Java 11, and along with all the monitoring and logging capability enabled to go live on the Absi platform. Then we have the deploy component. This is a stateless application. We are simply mentioning that what context this will get deployed. In this case, this will get deployed into alpha dev, and there will be two replicas, the two ports to be open, and we have selected the deployment strategy to be rolling here, which means that the two contexts, and in this case they will be like going live like within 30 seconds apart. But if you are redeploying the applications, then the applications will not go down. Applications will always remain up and running, and the changes in the applications will get deployed 30 seconds apart. Then we have the property sections where we have like some of the threading defined, and this is some of the visuals, so some of the coloring defined. And so now we are going to make a simple commit, and the webhook will pick up the change and deploy the application on the Absi platform. Anusha, we don't need that.
Oh,
You don't need to mention the site URL.
yeah.
So we're going to change the property just so that we can make a change and commit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, when this commit happens, right, it's going to do what Absi platform is supposed to do. So can we kind of walk us through this, with this diagram? So Anusha, pretended to be like a developer and committed, right? So can we kind of quickly walk through the flow here?
That's correct. So in this case, Anusha, as a developer, she has made a commit to the Git repository, personal Git repository here, and that code is moving forward. It will get merged with the Absi stack, in this case, the Tomcat 9, and gets built. So that's the process it is happening. When you say it is running, Anusha, you can show the running. So click on the running part, and you will see that the application is getting built now, and it all the details, the build related details. If you are familiar with the Java application, this is what happens if you are building the applications even like on your like local box using the pom.xml. We are capturing the details at the minutest level, so that it is helpful for debugging and troubleshooting, and you don't have to log into the box to do that. So you can see that you are getting the power of the build, and you will see the deployment and the complete visibility, observability of from the day 0, day 1 to day 2. That's the power we are kind of like bringing. And so let's see that we are capturing the GitHub details, what got changed, which triggered the build.
Yeah, sure.
So as you can see here that we are also capturing, it is directly linked to the GitHub, and you can see that what change we made, and that is getting pushed to the platform. So let's go back to the Rajat screen. We can see the application is getting like the built right now, and once it is built, let's refresh that. And one more thing to point out here is that once application build is complete, it will get pushed to the private repository, which comes as part of our platform. So Absi platform is a complete ecosystem of the tools and all the controls to take applications to enable like true GitOps and take the applications live. So we also have, as I said, that we have a private Git repository, which comes as part of the built-in, comes as part of the platform. But if the enterprise has selected an outside registry like Nexus or Artifactory, we are very easy to integrate with. We come with all the tools required to manage the complete SDLC, but we are easy to integrate with if there are existing enterprise tools out there available and which enterprise would like to use. As we can see here that the build and push completed, and now the deployment is also completed. And pretty soon, let's take a quick look at that. So here are the deployment details, and you can see the magic here. This is the real magic that as a developer, I just know the Java, and I have been building the Java application for past 20 years. It is one of the most popular popular framework for the UI and the middle tier applications. And I don't have to learn anything about Docker and Kubernetes, and my application is going live on a Kubernetes cluster without personally, I know knowing me the Docker and Kubernetes. That's the magic that we are bringing to the table, and how this is happening is completely visible to me for troubleshooting and monitoring.
All right, so it's up and running. It took probably approximately 5 minutes because
Yes,
it has to build, it has to store that or pull all the dependencies. I think we used a Maven build,
that's correct.
and so we pulled all the dependencies, created the application artifact, which is a WAR file,
Yep,
and overlaid that on top of an Absi stack, which is Tomcat 9.
yep,
Then created the final Docker image, pushed that into a repository, and then triggered the deployment by and executed the kubectl commands that are required for that image to get deployed into the cluster.
that's correct.
Right?
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Looks like we have 2 instances running now.
yep.
So
And
yeah, go ahead.
we can, I'm sure you can click that. In fact, the log collection is coming from the Elastic, so there may be some lag here. Applications log will start coming. Oh, it started coming. That's good. So as you can see, the application got deployed, and whatever applications log is getting generated, that is from the application pod, the logs are getting shipped using the Fluent to Elastic, and those logs become visible through our dashboard UI.
Yeah, awesome. So at this point, both the instances are up. And can we go back to the previous screen? So I think the data is still coming in. It's a fresh install. So the data that we are collecting, so we are collecting the performance metrics
Yes,
as well as the application logs, correct?
that's correct. That's correct. So we have this dashboard is showing all the performance metrics and the file system utilization, CPU, memory, and all the details are here. And the logs part is that all the applications log as well as the system log.
Awesome. So can we look at the application now? So is it do we have a URL to that application?
Anusha, can you go to the URL?
Yeah.
And URL would be Tomcat Hello World -03 and
So
Application is yet to come.
while Anisha is doing that, let's take a couple more questions. So do we have a free trial?
That's a good question. Yeah. So we do have free trial. We want and in the AWS marketplace, what we have done is that our product is available for 60 days free. There won't be any charges from the cloud control side. In fact, right now we are in beta and we are not charging anything. So if you want to try it out, you can definitely go ahead and try it as a beta customers. Uh, but once it goes GA, we will have the 60 days free trial. There will be, of course, AWS charges as per the AWS uh, uh, the pricing template, but we are not charging for 60 days, whether it is Absi platform or our stacks.
All right. So moving on to the next question. So what is the benefit of Absi when it comes to production? The cost of ownership.
So I can give a rough estimate here. That's a very good question, Nancy. And when you say that, definitely we save tons of money during the migration part because uh, I because again we have been in the cloud for so many years, and there is no tools out there. The cloud migration is completely manual. So we save a huge amount of money for a small or large enterprise to migrate to the cloud, and that's around close to like 50 to 70%. Once you are up and running in the cloud, then the value add from Absi is to save on the operational cost. As we saw that we are a very low touch deployment platform, and we and so and based on our estimates, we are saving close to 30 to 40% in the operation cost for the enterprises. We have some of the clients who are live on our platform, and without having a cloud or the Kubernetes expert on their staff, and their business team is able to deploy the application with a simple kind of like the gitops click.
All right. So the next question is an extension to this. So during the free trial, do the developers get support, and how do we get that support?
That's a very good question. So yes, so we are like completely behind this platform. We are a true product company. We have also partners who will support you to free trial version and even beyond that. And we also have an open Slack channel, so we'll have direct access to our core engineering team also to understand. Although it's very easy to understand, it is extremely simple to adopt. But of course, you have any questions, we are ready to answer.
All right. So let's go back to the application. So now it looks like the application is working. So at this point, can we make a change? So this app is running. I've triggered the deployment through Git. So let's say if I want to make a change, is that something that we can show?
Absolutely. Let's say make the color green.
All right. So let's do that. So this can be any change within the source
It could
code.
be, that's correct. Yes,
Right?
yes.
And I want to add another question here, which is, so I know we are deploying directly. So if I'm using a PR and merge process, will that come into effect as well? And will that work?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a good question. And um, again, this is development environment, and as you can see that the development build is happening, the deployment is happening, and in the real production environment, people will not be directly making the changes in the production environment. It will come through a merged PR, and the webhooks will honor that. And even if the enterprises are not allowing the webhooks, we have the Git poller, which can look into the Git and observe the changes and kind of like the pull the changes live and deploy it. So answer is yes. Uh, we will definitely honor the merging the PR and take it live.
That's awesome. So while the build is happening, let's take a few more questions. So Anil has a question here. Can legacy applications be migrated to Absi? And also, I think there is an interesting part here, which is if I don't have the source code and if it's only binaries, how will that work?
Yes, so that's a very good question, and we definitely have come across these type of scenario in our journey. And the answer is yes. And definitely we have to like this may be instead of like having the weeks, it could be in months. Kind of like look into that, understand that some knowledge about the applications, putting some layering on top of that. Because in this case, the binary is there, but we would like to add additional like the monitoring and logging capability to kind of like enable and fit and offer the true value add of the Azure platform. So, Anil, that's a very good question. We have come across this type of scenario, especially in the large enterprise, a lot, and we have the capability to do that.
Awesome. Now, is there any limit in the application count? So is it unlimited once it's up and running?
Any limit in application not supported by
The
Absi?
number of packages they can deploy is, there is no limit, right?
So there's no limit, and as you know that, Rajat, in fact, you may answer this. Like, how many nodes a Kubernetes cluster can support? Single cluster?
In the single cluster, 5,000 is the current.
Ah, that's a huge number. So if you have a 5,000 node cluster, you can run the Facebook on it.
Yeah,
That's how all the enterprises are running. Yeah.
that's right. And you can deploy across multiple namespaces. That's
That's
another
correct.
way
Yep.
to
Yep.
isolate them, right? So, all right. So now, what kind of data Absi collects from the webhook response? That's a good question. So when the GitHub sends a webhook, what is that we are collecting from that and logging?
So we are collecting the source code for the build purposes. We are also collecting the change which happened. So I believe like that's all. Is there anything else that I'm missing here or?
No, that's good. So
Yep.
then basically, we keep the link.
Yep.
I think Anusha showed us earlier. When you click on the link in the log, it basically takes you back to the commit itself, and so you can actually see the differences in terms of files. So let's go back here. So looks like we have the green color deployed. So what do you want to show next, Sanjeev?
So why don't we switch gear and show the similar process for a Springboot, and we won't be kind of like going through the workflow like the details because we have already shown that. So we'll follow the exact same process for the Springboot and these two are very popular I would like Java development framework. And one thing to mention is that in the today's webinar, and Anusha, you go ahead, like do the forking, and I think people will keep watching it while I will be just narrating some more like general stuff. Um, Again, Anusha is forking in her personal Git repository and add the webhook, make a small change, and once he comes to the app YAML, we will go over the Spring Boot, like the deployment part.
Awesome.
Um,
Let's take another question, Sanjeev. So Abhi is asking, can the customer plug in their own approval process?
That's a very good question, Abhi. So answer is yes, and let me kind of like elaborate on that. So AppG platform, as I mentioned, comes with the complete control in place. So we have our own approval workflow, which the enterprise can adopt. We also like to recommend like the Git also provides some approval work for the PR merging process as an additional layer. But in spite of if these two are not enough to meet the enterprise requirement, whatever their approval workflow, maybe the ServiceNow, maybe Jira, maybe some homegrown, we have full integration capability to do that, and it's an easy integration.
All right. Next question is, so I know we deployed Tomcat and now we are deploying Springboot. I think Nagesh has a good question here. How is Absi figuring out what type of Java application we are deploying?
So the answer would be that it is the image template that has the knowledge about that, and we have close to kind of like 100 templates. Like if I talk about the Java itself, I would say that we have the Tomcat template, we have a Spring Boot template, we have J2EE template, we have WebSphere template. So depending upon that, what framework has been used in the Java applications, we match, and this type of matching we do when we are doing a large enterprise. We are matching the applications and uh, like and uh, say that which application will match to which template, and then go Rohit, would you like to add anything to this,
Yeah.
or?
So the idea is, based on the type of application, you need to match to the right template.
Yeah.
The documentation will help you with that. So if I'm a Spring Boot application, if I'm using a Tomcat application, so as a developer, using our documentation, you'll be able to figure out which template will work for you, and you can use that. For example, if I'm one of the good use cases that I've seen is that when I'm using, say, Tomcat 8, and the developer want to simply try, and the developer already is using, say, Tomcat 8 template. Now, if they want to try Tomcat 9, just by changing that one line in the Absi YAML,
Yeah.
they can switch to Tomcat 9, try it out, and see if it works, and look at the logs and see what is going wrong, do the fixes. And if the fix it's not, if you think there is not enough time to, or it's not worth putting all the fixes in, you simply go back to Tomcat 8 and it will continue to run. And when you have the time or chance to upgrade again, try it anytime you want. Just by changing one line, you can switch back and forth between Tomcat 8 and Tomcat 9. So the key is to find the right template and use it.
Yeah.
And when you're ready to upgrade to the next one, just choose the next the next version of the template, and you are now in the new version. So yeah, go ahead, Sanjay.
Yeah, in fact, one thing I would like to mention here, if people are watching, that in a large enterprise, we had selected close to thousands of close to 1,400 applications, and we narrowed down their deployment strategy, kind of like the template. Like 15 to 20 of the templates will be able to manage the 1,400 applications, and that was a very powerful transformation that enterprise went.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that means you have you can have tons of workloads that be reusing a given template again and again.
That's
So
correct.
that reduces your cost of ownership, and the pain you have in terms of maintaining all those workloads narrows down to few templates that you have.
Yes, and I would also like to mention, Rajat, that these templates ideally get maintained by SRE or the infrastructure team, and especially in the large enterprise, it is not the developers. It should be not in the developers' hands. They need to focus on their development, on the language on which they are coding. It is the SRE team or infrastructure team who maintains these templates, and we definitely have a very curated template. But sometimes we have seen that enterprise adding kind of like their layer of customization on the template to meet their kind of like the regulatory or other requirements, and we are perfectly fine with that. We have full documentations, and we have the partners who help enterprise customize those templates.
Awesome. So next question from Ashik. Um, so when we have a new version of Absi, the upgrade happens automatically. So will there be any downtime?
The answer is there will not be any downtime, and of course we would like. And again, upgrade is a big topic, and what I would say is that the upgrade could be that you are deploying the new version of applications or new version of the image template itself. And as you can see that we use the core capabilities of the Kubernetes to minimize the downtime, and in many cases there will not be any downtime at all. But in case we are upgrading the Absi platform itself, we have kind of like a strategy in place to minimize the downtime, and we would definitely prefer that if we are upgrading as the platform itself, do it during the weekend, and that would be safe because the environment will not get affected.
Awesome. So it looks like the Springboot application is up. So you want to kind of walk us through that? And it was quick. So we cloned it and then set the webhook and made a change.
That's correct. So at the same magic that we talked about, that It was a Spring Boot application. And Anusha, like let's show the Spring Boot image template on the Absi YAML. I think we missed that part. So as you can see that the Absi YAML, it is similar to the Tomcat, and if the template that we are using is the Spring Boot V2, that's the template which and I guess the question is that how do I know? So depending upon that what framework you have used within your Java applications, we match the template, and in this case we have selected the Spring Boot the template to go with this applications. An application gets layered on top of this template to go live.
Awesome. So at this point, I think we deployed both applications, and both are up and running. Now, any changes we make to any of those two applications, it will immediately get reflected in the live site, correct?
That's correct. So why don't we just change that to Spring Boot Web, call it like Boston Red Sox. Let's see that how that goes. And if you're watching this, these two applications we are deploying are a stateless application. In the coming weeks, we will be showing you a full stateful application deployment that will include the deploying of a database. It could be MariaDB, it could be Postgres, and maybe deploying a Java application or like or maybe the .NET applications and taking the live. So keep tuned in with our future webinars and see the capability of the Absi platform. And
So
I think in this case we have single context, so the application is
it's okay.
it's a single context. We had single context in this.
It's not using the rolling, so it's going to bring it down.
Correct. Yeah.
And bring it up. Okay. Yeah. Let's take a few more questions. Notifications. So when things happen within the cluster, we have a mechanism to notify customers. And I'll add to the question, can we also integrate with the enterprise tools that take care of the ticketing and incident management, things like that?
Yes. So we have our own Absi alerting and monitoring system, and alerting and monitoring system can happen at multiple layers. It can happen at the infrastructure and performance layer. Also, it can happen at what I call the applications layer, and it is and we have a customizable alerting and monitoring. So if you want your applications, certain type of applications to be a certain type of log, if it comes in the application that needs to be alerted, and just to like flash that yes, app Boston Red Sox is live. We can easily do that, and many times enterprise ask us that can you send those alerts to their enterprise tool set. It could be Netcool, it could be Tivoli, and you name it. It could be there's so many I'm forgetting the all the names, but we have full integration capability to send the alerts to those enterprise tool sets as well, and that way it's easy to operate and
All right. So I think Pradeep had a question related to the different types of deployment policies that we have. So when we're deploying, through Absi, can we make the application deploy with zero downtime?
Yes, answer is yes, and that is how we had configured our Tomcat deployment to go live. It was a rolling deployment, so we support all type of deployment. And again, like this is not something that we have invented. It is available as an option within the Kubernetes cluster, and we are simply using it. As I said, that the open source community, lots of like the cloud vendors, they have automated this whole process. We are offering this as a declarative way for applications to go live with the minimal knowledge of the required to adopt these features.
All right. So next question about the logs. Looks like we collect the logs. How long can it be kept? And can I go back and grab old logs for issues?
That's very good questions. And so let me quickly go slightly deep into this. So what we are doing here is we have application pods running, and as the application's logs are getting generated, we have a separate policy setup. We call it the log rotate, so that the logs kind of like it does not grow infinitely. So log rotate policy is in place, and but what is happening is that those logs are getting shipped to Elastic, and it is up to the client that they decide the policy that how long they want to keep the logs. In fact, many enterprise, what they have done is that we have the log rotate at the pod level, we have retention policy at the Elastic level, and many enterprise, I think Rajit and I come from financial services background, and logs are need to be kept for 7 years. So we understand the challenges here. So and what enterprises had done in that case is to ship the old stale log. uh, they can keep it elastic maybe a month, maybe 6 months, depending upon their online need to look at the logs. And beyond that, they can ship it to any kind of log lake, maybe a Splunk, maybe like a Kibana, or wherever they want to store the log.
Awesome. So the next question is also interesting from Sridevi. Uh, how do we expose, Absi applications to the external world after deploying to Kubernetes?
That's a very good question. And if you remember the deck which Rajit was sharing, that we have ingress controller in place, and it is a continuously running job. It understands that where like what the port is application is exposing, and it creates a URL. And as you say that our URL, we kept it very simple. In the sense like the application context, the version, and the domain URL. So it is the ingress controller which is exposing the applications to the outside world, and with the along with the certificate, so that you don't run into any kind of like the security warning and all.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for all the good questions. So at this point, we have covered what we had planned to cover. So we deployed a Tomcat application, and we deployed a Springboot application. So anything else, Sanjeev, we want to cover before we close?
As a rapid comment, I say that this is a continuation of our like a series of webinars that we are doing. And the next webinar, we will start focusing on some of the stateful applications. The the template like Absi stacks that we discussed here for Tomcat and Spring Boot, we have hundreds of these templates. So you can imagine that our goal here is to educate that we have a prefabricated Absi stacks template, which can be used directly to integrate with your applications and go live in like minutes. We will be coming with the stateful deployment. We will also be coming with in future with what we call is the workshop. So what Anusha did in her forking the applications and deploying it, in our future webinars, we will have a cluster up and running, ready for you to fork the applications from our eCloud control repo and make the changes in your personal Git repo and see the applications getting deployed on the cluster, which will be like pre-created for you. So that's all, Rajit, from my side.
Awesome. Thanks, Sanjeev, and thanks, Anusha. Thanks, everyone, for joining. So please do join us next week. There'll be, as Sanjeev said, we'll be covering different templates in the coming weeks, including the stateful applications or stateful components like MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, things like that. So please do join us, and thanks again for joining. See you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.